Evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Shalom. Hope everybody's doing well. All praise to the Most High for all his blessings. And, right, without further ado, we shall get on with what I've got for you today. Been on my mind to do something regarding this subject for a few weeks. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do it, and I was just waiting for a final confirmation, really, and I got that the other day. So things were put my way in front of me, and it all seemed to sort of come together as it so often does. And so yeah, this hopefully we're going to shed some light on the subject of why they're actually trying to block out the sun, the light from the sun, that all giving light that we all pray for every day. And most of us, although we wouldn't like to admit it, are probably all in our own different variations of degrees, what you'd call sun worshippers, I suppose. Quite a few of the populations around the world are affected by this thing called SAD. I know that I'm affected by it. If it's a bleak, overcast day, it just makes you feel down, and you just hope for a glimpse of a bit of sunlight. And so, the sun. What is the thing with the sun? So I titled this video, the title I gave it for kind of specific reasons, because back in the day, as you all know, I sort of try and blend both sides of the coin, of the story, so that we can get a perspective of what we're actually up against. And this here that we're looking at here is a papyrus hieroglyph of Akhenaten. You can see him standing here, very big and impressive like he is. These smaller versions next to him. And what you have here is, you're probably all familiar with this anyway, but this is the solar disk called the Aten, or the Aten. And these are the rays of life-giving light that comes down here, and in various images you'll see like the Ankh or Ankh symbol held by these hands, which are the rays of light that are emanating down from the sun. So Akhenaten was like the first pharaoh to actually switch from worshipping Amun, I believe, to actually worship the sun. I mean, his way of thinking wasn't long-lived, or as much as the previous worship of Amun, and after that as well. He was sort of like a bit of a renegade, if you like. But they lived in Mitzrayim, Egypt, where it's on that sort of line of latitude, and sun is pretty prevalent most of the time. I would have thought. I haven't actually been to Egypt, but from what I've seen, it's pretty much near the equator, and is pretty much reliant on the sun as much as it is the River Nile. So hence him putting the kind of adoration onto the sun that he did. And so there was that little thing there I thought was kind of interesting to start it off with, and then you've got this one here which tells us a bit more about it. Aten, appearance, a sun disk with rays which end in hands. Aten was a form of the sun god Ra. During the reign of Akhenaten, the Aten was made the king of the gods. So that's a little rundown on what the Aten is. We're all familiar with, I can close that one now, and we're all familiar with these images nowadays. Many of you follow Richie from Boston. That's his sort of main kind of theme about the skies over Boston being blocked out. I do on my other channel. I follow quite a lot of channels that cover, shall I say, in brackets, earthly stuff, where this channel is more, I would hope, kind of directed towards scriptural stuff, and the Most High is the main thing of the whole channel, really. But of course, from the other channel, people like myself included, I started off following all these earthly type of things, and one day you kind of wake up to the fact that there's all more, something more to all this kind of stuff. And so with these chemtrails and stuff, that it seems to be, I don't know whether it's in the third world countries or not. I don't never seem to get much coverage from third world countries. Whether that's intentional or not, I don't know. But when you think about it, it's sort of Europe, North America, Australia, even, I believe. Russia, we never really know what's going on there, do we? Because they pretty much know everything, all their ins and outs, but we know nothing about what they do. So chemtrails, yeah, why would you want to block out the sun? Is there reasoning behind this? And you scroll down these images here, and there's one I saw here of this happy chappy, Bill Gates. We'll be covering a bit about him, or somebody will, in the video later on as I get further into this. As powerful as some people get in this world, it does seem to go to their heads, and they imagine themselves as some almighty power, you know, with the power to create and destroy, you know, which, as we know, there's only one who can do that. Well, there's two, but one on the good side anyway. So blotting out the sun. So that got me thinking. There's a Simpsons one there. Let's have a little look at that. I used to watch The Simpsons, but haven't watched it lately. But good old Mr. Burns always comes up with some Bill Gates type idea to clear the world of some unimportant people. So yeah, I was thinking about, you know, the sun. What actually is the sunlight? You know, go back over to this one here. So I typed in, does God live in the sun? You know, God is light, sun is light, his son is light. And so I typed that in a little while back, and it brought me to this page here. And I looked at this video first, because I'd like to think I have a fairly open mind on things, but thankfully I've been blessed with a bit of discernment, so you have to take the good and leave the rest. So anybody who hasn't seen this video, we'll just play a little bit of this to start with. The sun is the real God as proven by science. Play a little snippet of that. I may have to turn the volume up a bit. Do that first. Oops, sorry about that. Let's click on that and play a bit of that.
This was as close as it got to staring into the face of God. 150 million kilometers from home. A 20-year journey by plane. Switch it off. It's so far away, you wouldn't know until for 8 minutes. It's so big, you can fit a million Earths inside it.
Wow. Million Earths, eh?
Its gravity controls the entire solar system.
So, there you have. The sun is the real God as proven by science and confirmed by the narrator, which is kind of like a mainstream kind of documentary thing on what NASA would put out as a detailed account of what is actually going on with the sun. So, you know, if anybody wants to check that out, there's the title of it by this person here, which gives you one take on the sun and what some people believe the sun is. Then you have this one. The Son of God is the Son of God. We won't play all of this, we'll just play a bit. Let's buzz it back a bit. Oh, we won't do George Carlin because he's a bit... you have to be in the right mood. So...
This is the sun. As far back as 10,000 BC, history is abundant with carvings and writings reflecting people's respect and adoration for this object. And it is simple to understand why.
So as you can see from that, that's sort of covering astrology and all that kind of stuff. And it goes into something that Casey spoke about today, coincidentally, the Zeitgeist video that was put out on YouTube a couple of years back, which sort of delves into recurring themes of a biblical nature, the personifications that repeat throughout the story in the scriptures. And anybody who wants to watch that, it's on for about half an hour. I think you've got to sort of take into account all this stuff, and then so that you have a clear view of what we're actually up against in the opposite thought processes, because this walk is so easy to slip. It's like a knife's edge. You can fall to the left, you can fall to the right, and you have to kind of make sure that you're just staying on the path, really. So those two there, we've covered those. I can get rid of that now, and I can get rid of that one there. So anybody of you who have seen this film that was out 10 years ago, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Knowing. Nicolas Cage. I remember watching this a few years back. This is the one, if anybody hasn't seen it, where this guy kind of keeps seeing these numbers that keep cropping up in his daily life, and kind of like how Casey and other channels sort of work with numbers and see the number synchronicities going on. It sort of works the same way in this film. And anybody who doesn't know the plot, it stars Nicolas Cage, as I say, and he's a person with a son, and basically the world is going to be destroyed by a solar flare, I believe. And it says down here, massive solar flare will soon reach Earth, making it virtually uninhabitable. So you're probably all familiar with that movie anyway. But at the end of the movie, let's go down here, and it tells us a bit more. This is where the NASA part comes into it. A spaceship descends from the sky, and the strangers beckon the children to depart with them. After John is denied entry, that's Nicolas Cage, he embraces his son one last time before allowing him to leave, and the ship departs with the children. Many similar spaceships leave the Earth. Next morning, John drives to his estranged father's home as the world descends into the anarchy from the pending disaster. John and his family embrace as the flare wave ignites the Earth, killing all life on the surface. Caleb and Abby, that's the children who have been taken off, kind of raptured if you like, are deposited on an Earth-like planet, and they walk towards a large tree in the middle of a field while the other spaceships land nearby. I believe Casey's done a decode on that film as well. But so there's that. which is kind of like the plot to knowing. So a giant sun flare destroys the Earth. Then, where am I going to go next? Oh yeah, here we go to this one. Sorry, I've got these a bit muddled up, so I'll try and make the best of it. Apologise for any confusion being caused. So as we all know, vitamin D is something we all need. Human skin can make large amounts of vitamin D. When lots of skin is exposed and the sun is high in the sky, your body is designed to get the vitamin D it needs by producing it when your bare skin is exposed to sunlight. The part of the sun's rays that is important is ultraviolet B. So, vitamin D from the sunlight, there's quite a few different biological effects and substances that are, how can I say, dependent or rely purely on the sun to make, not all, but mostly, some people more able than others, depending on where you live in the world. And we'll get to that later on. So I just wanted to show, this is all pretty much common knowledge to most people, I would have thought, but I'm just trying to compile a picture of why they would want to block the sun out. If our bodies are kind of like running at a loss if we don't have sunlight, kind of like most of us have solar, have sort of experience of solar energy in some form or another, whether it's a garden light or some device on your car, or you go camping, you have a solar panel on your roof of your RV or something. So pretty much everything nowadays is, if you go the green route, it's about solar energy or wind power or something like this. But yet on the other side of things, there's people like Bill Gates and those warped, twisted elites that are pushing the whole vehicle in the opposite direction. So it kind of makes you think, well, what's going on, you know? So vitamin D. Next, this is a video that I was watching from somebody I subscribe to in my channel. His name's Jonathan, and he made this video here, what makes melanin gift for black people. So I'm going to play a little clip of this video here, and he's talking to a scientist, a lecturer, I believe, about melanin. So I'll play you a little portion of this. I'm sure he won't mind. And anyway, check out a few of his videos. He delves deep into different aspects of truth. So I'll play a bit of this now.
have the highest dosage. We have the highest concentration, the highest concentration of melanin. Let's keep on going. Might make a part two. They discovered that melanin has the remarkable ability to use light. Split the water molecule into its gaseous components, hydrogen and oxygen. Then reunite those gases to reform water. In the process, generating chemical energy, powers our cellular processes, and it produces electricity. This, of course, is a well-known process called photosynthesis, the process of the direct conversion of sunlight into biological energy. But here's the kicker. Until his discovery in 2002, most of the world thought only plants were capable of photosynthesis by means of their pigment molecule called chlorophyll. But Dr. Salas Herrera and colleagues discovered is nothing short of human photosynthesis by means of the melanin molecule, which is the human analog to plant chlorophyll. This is golden right here. This means game changer. This is the chemical reaction that was discovered for the first time to take place within melanin. This means when water, melanin is the scientific formula for melanin. When water, melanin, and electromagnetic radiation, sunlight, when they interact, when they are together, water, melanin, and light. The melanin uses the water to, the melanin uses the light to split the water up, yielding or producing two hydrogen atoms, molecular hydrogen atoms, two oxygen atoms, and four electrons. But in nanoseconds, the process reverses. The melanin causes the hydrogen and the oxygen to reunite, reproducing water. And so what the end product of this remarkable chemical reaction is chemical energy and electricity. Now, in case you listen, melanin makes melanated people capable of photosynthesis. Melanin can take energy from the full range of the electromagnetic spectrum, from radio waves to gamma rays. We can take chlorophyll can only utilize visible light. Black melanin can utilize the full spectrum, and it can take this light, split water, creating the chemical energy necessary to power our 37 trillion cells, and it produces electricity. Man, are you hearing this? Do you know how powerful we are? With God, we can take all of that stuff, and it still will kill us. Only a God can do that. You don't even know who the hell you are. You can quote me Bible passages all goddamn day long. Are you hear what this man is saying? Have you a Negro, a nigger? Our bodies are able to, our bodies can absorb sunlight, electromagnetic waves, computer radiation, X-ray, cosmic rays, ultraviolet rays. We can take all of that stuff. The railroad and colleagues discovered that the main function of melanin in the human body is not filtering UV radiation, but it is the production of energy and electricity. That's the main point of melanin in the human body. Slide. This human photosynthesis is, I'm sure, one of the reasons the ancients commonly depicted man as a walking tree. In ancient religious literature, man was symbolized as a plant, usually a tree. In fact, in esoteric or mystical Judaism or Kabbalah, they identify the original black man, whom they call Akhenaten. They identify him as the tree of life itself. And that is appropriate because the most efficient at photosynthesis is not the green plant. The most efficient at photosynthesis is the black human being. Now that's key. Listen, the human being is a bioelectronic organism. Y'all all right? Who is God? The scientific testimony. The human being is a bioelectric organism. Electricity travels in closed circuits, and the human body is a closed circulatory system. Human cells are specialized to conduct electrical currents. Electricity is required for the nervous system to send signals through the body and the brain. Right here. Black Adam, or the ATOM, is called QaDMoN, God Man, by Jewish Kabbalists, or Master by the Zoroastrians, Marduk by the Babylonians, Atum by the Egyptians. Okay? These created gods are one and the same with the black man who emerged from triple darkness 72 years ago. Eliphas Levi thus proclaimed the secret of the Kabbalah. Man is God on earth, and God is man in heaven. So who is God on earth? The black man. Who is God in heaven? The black man. This is proven through science. This is proven through science. Let's keep on going. Making it possible to move, to think, to feel. Every thought, every sensation, and every activity arises from bioelectricity generated by neurons and transmitted through complex neural circuits inside the skull. Why aren't your camps teaching you this stuff? They keep on talking about feast days, Sabbath day, or Passover coming up, Sabbath day coming up. They're not even telling you what's in store for you. You don't know what's about to happen within the next 10 to 20 years. Damn shame. Of melanin to create. That's why these white folks laugh at you. These dumb niggas walking around here don't know who the hell they are. Electricity out of water and chemical energy makes it and makes us analogous to an advanced Duracell battery. Slide, please. And in fact, Dr. Otero Salas Herrera, they have patented in 6 countries, including Russia, the US, and China, patented a melanin battery for the vaccine that operates off the same process that takes place in the black melanated body. And this vaccine or melanin battery, patented in 6 countries, has the power, okay, power 8 device, Mike Keanu Reeves as the word blockbuster that most of us are not aware of. Is that this natural power of melanated people was the whole point of the Hollywood blockbuster, The Matrix, where humans are used as batteries, harvested by intelligent machines as an energy source or as bioelectricity generators. Morpheus holding up the battery. And while it is no surprise that the white supremacy agenda of Hollywood casted a very white Keanu Reeves as the ultimate bioelectric generator, note that he is always dipped in melanin black from head to toe. Always. Trinity always dipped in melanin black from head to toe. Morpheus usually is dipped in melanin black from head. And who else is dipped in melanin black head to toe? Who else? These people. These people. These people. What are they dipped in? What are they wearing? All black. Do they know who the hell you are? You are God. They're dipped in black from head to toe. And you can't deny this.
So there's that. Little bit about melanin. You know, regardless of where this information comes from, it's still information that you have to take on board and sift out the good parts from the bad parts and come to some conclusion yourself. So I think I've finished with that one now. And there's a little bit of information about this guy who discovered the human photosynthesis. This is the guy here, Arturo Solis Herrera. And he discovered it back in 2002 that melanin actually produces energy. And you can check this all out, but he was an ophthalmologist, and he's discovered that with melanin actually used in the eye, it allowed different reactions and outcomes when there wasn't melanin present. And there's a whole write up here about his research and his findings. And you saw in the previous video there that they've actually patented now, or have done for a long while, a melanin battery. So, there's something that people with dark skins can derive some more energy from the sun than people without higher quantities of melanin. So before we go on to the next bit here, this is the guy here. I just want to sort of say back to my original thought about, what is actually the thing about blocking the sun out. If it is all about how the sun can affect mankind's and humankind's bodies, then there's something to that, as we've seen here. It's a scientific fact, because what we're up against is like scientific knowledge and the philosophical thought processes against just basic faith and belief, really. They're the two opposing sort of opposing forces, really. And man, as he does, he just tends to just like overthink things, and like on a grander scale of what I'm doing with this very video. I've got an idea. It's just an idea, but it could be completely wrong. It could be that I'm the only person who's come up with this idea. But what if the light from the sun is light from heaven? We know we can't look at the sun unless we have sunglasses on, or shades, or some form of protection. But if it's doing good things to people's bodies by enabling them to gain certain benefits from the sunlight, then it would you would assume that it's going to be like a benevolent sort of source. I mean, we know that. See, this is the crunch thing. When you believe the words of the scriptures, and you know that the sun isn't a large ball of fire spinning around in space, and we're spinning around it, and it may come and wipe us out one day, or asteroids are going to come and hit us. When you know that that's not the case, and it's a light traveling round above us, giving us the light that we need during the day, and the moon giving us the light during the night, then the scientific take on it is completely wrong. But yet the scientific proof in a biological sense is going against that sort of way of thinking. So it just raises a few questions. So I mean, if the light that we get from the sun is heaven sent light, if you like, then it makes sense that they would want to try and block it out, because if we're all in complete darkness, like the vast majority of people are, walking around with their heads towards the ground or towards their devices, then, whether it's sunny or overcast or raining or cloudy, most people probably don't care anyhow. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. I'm going to play a bit more of this video from this guy. This is Dr. Wesley Mohammed, and I believe he is a follower of Islam, but the scientific facts are scientific facts for those who want scientific facts. Let me buzz this back a bit. Let me get back to, where was it now? 10. It's quite a long video, this one, so if anybody wants to watch it, then it's done by Real Talk TV 2. It's been out a while, November the 7th, 2018. Who is God by Dr. Wesley Mohammed. So I'm going to play a little bit of footage here. Hopefully they won't mind me using it. Anybody who feels they don't want to watch, then you're free to not watch. But it's all information, and if it helps you to understand things, then hopefully that's a good thing.
February 2002, a game-changing scientific discovery was made by a group of scientists in Mexico, led by Dr. Arturo Salas Herrera.
I think I covered this bit already.
Neuro-ophthalmologist and pharmacologist. After a 12-year study involving 6,000 patients, they discovered a previously unknown chemical reaction that takes place in the melanin molecule when stimulated by light in the presence of water. Slide, please. They discovered that melanin has the remarkable ability to use light, to split the water molecule into its gaseous components, hydrogen and oxygen, and then reunite those gases to reform water. In the process, generating chemical energy that powers our cellular processes, and it produces electricity. This, of course, is a well-known process called photosynthesis, the process of the direct conversion of sunlight into biological energy. But here's the kicker. Until his discovery in 2002, most of the world thought only plants were capable of photosynthesis by means of their pigment molecule called chlorophyll. What Dr. Salas Herrera and colleagues discovered is nothing short of human photosynthesis by means of the melanin molecule, which is the human analog to plant chlorophyll. This is golden right here. This means the game changer. This is the chemical reaction that was discovered for the first time to take place with the melanin uses the light to split the water up, yielding or producing two hydrogen atoms, molecular hydrogen atoms, two oxygen atoms, and four electrons. But in nanoseconds, the process reverses. The melanin causes the hydrogen and the oxygen to reunite, reproducing water. And so what the end product of this remarkable chemical reaction is chemical energy and electricity. Now, in case you missed it, melanin makes melanated people capable of photosynthesis. Melanin can take energy from the full range of the electromagnetic spectrum, from radio waves to gamma waves. Plant chlorophyll can only utilize visible light. Black melanin can utilize the full spectrum, and it can take this light, split water, creating the chemical energy necessary to power our 37 trillion cells, and it produces electricity. Pharoah and colleagues discovered the main function of melanin in the human body is not filtering UV radiation, but it is the production of energy and electricity. That's the main point of melanin in the human body. Slide, please. This human photosynthesis is, I'm sure, one of the reasons the ancients commonly depicted man as a walking tree. In ancient religious literature, man was symbolized as a plant, usually a tree. In fact, in esoteric or mystical Judaism called Kabbalah, they identify the original black man, whom they call Akhenaten. They identify him as the tree of life itself. And that is appropriate because the most efficient at photosynthesis is not the green plant. The most efficient at photosynthesis is the black human being. Oh, that's deep. Listen, the human being is a bioelectronic organism. Y'all all right? Who is God? The scientific testimony. The human being is a bioelectric organism. Electricity travels in closed circuits, and the human body is a closed circulatory system. Human cells are specialized to conduct electrical currents. Electricity is required for the nervous system to send signals through the body and the brain, making it possible to move, to think, to feel. Every thought, every sensation, and every activity arises from bioelectricity generated by neurons and transmitted through complex neural circuits inside the skull. The ability of melanin to create electricity cell battery. Slide, please. And in fact, Dr. Otero Salas Pereira, they have patented in 6 countries, including Russia, the US, and China, patented a melanin battery called the Back-Gen that operates off the same process that takes place in the black melanated body. And this Back-Gen or melanin battery, patented in 6 countries, has the power or can power a device indefinitely. Now, they haven't themselves reached indefinitely, but they have LED lights that have been charged on melanin continuously for 8 years now. And what most of us aren't aware of, slide please, what most of us are not aware of is that this natural power of melanated people was the whole point of the Hollywood blockbuster, The Matrix, where humans are used as batteries, harvested by intelligent machines as an energy source or as bioelectricity generators. Morpheus holding up the battery. And while it is no surprise that the white supremacy agenda of Hollywood casted a very white Keanu Reeves as the ultimate bioelectricity generator, note that he is always dipped in melanin black from head to toe. Always. Trinity always dipped in melanin black from head to toe. Morpheus usually is dipped in melanin black from head to toe because in a very real sense, that is you that is being represented on the screen. It has consistently been observed that in human populations, especially indigenous populations, adult females have lighter skin pigmentation than adult men. It is believed that one of the reasons for this natural phenomenon is testosterone, the male hormone or power hormone that your brother want to see even more of that reason today. A reason men of a population tend to be darker than the women of a given population is because, scientists say, testosterone helps stimulate and regulate the production of melanin. More testosterone, therefore, equals more melanin under normal or optimal conditions. This mutually reinforcing relationship between testosterone and melanin is beautifully illustrated in the black maned African lion. Slide, please. Don't listen to the producers of the Lion King who villainize this animal and the character Scar. Don't listen to them. If the African lion is the king of the jungle, then the black maned lion is the jungle's king of kings. This is due to testosterone that regulates the color, quality, and length of the man. High testosterone results in a long, thick, and black mane, while low testosterone results in a shorter, thinner, blonde mane. The blonde lions almost look like the lioness on a bad hair day. They do. These high levels of testosterone are the reason the black maned lion is the more dominant, the better hunter, and the desire of all the ladies. That's real. The black maned lion. Get all the women. I was about to say get all the chicks, but I ain't saying that. The black gets all of the women, even though this world pushes the blonde line, feminizes the black main line. Why is this important for our discussion? Because this testosterone, which we have documented, is one of two biochemical sources of a man's drive for power, but is a God, a being of power and force. This testosterone is actually a solar biochemical in that sunlight stimulates the production of testosterone via two sources. Sunlight produces vitamin D in the body, and vitamin D leads to the synthesis of melanin, but also more directly, sunlight stimulates in the brain the release of certain hormones, luteinizing hormones. When sunlight synthesizes or stimulates luteinizing hormones in the brain, those luteinizing hormones makes testosterone. Do you follow? Testosterone is a solar chemical. I'm gonna come back to that. God is light, right? Okay. Sunlight exposure increases both the amount of melanin in the skin and the amount of testosterone in the skin and in the body. And testosterone helps to further stimulate the production of melanin, as melanin helps boost the production of testosterone. A powerfully reinforcing cycle until it is sabotaged. We'll get to that in a moment. Thus, the black male in his natural state has the world's greatest concentration of melanin, the black God molecule, and the world's highest levels of testosterone, that black power hormone. One of the reasons, Middle East and India cover their head, bodies in the scorching heat, but men are not pressed to do so. It's not sexist. Not that those worlds aren't profoundly sexist and misogynist today. They are. This practice started before. One of the reasons is because the synergy of ultraviolet light from the sun and testosterone, that synergy in men is protective of the immune system. The T cells in particular, the T cells are the cells that fight disease. Synergy of sunlight, ultraviolet radiation, and testosterone is protective of the immune system and the T cells. However, in women, enough synergy between ultraviolet light and estrogen is cytotoxic to the female immune system. It's toxic to the female immune system, meaning that estrogen can cause the sunlight to alter T cells' responsiveness to fire. Also, I said above, and you may have heard me often say that testosterone is one of the two biochemicals at the root of a man's drive for power. The other is serotonin. Like testosterone, serotonin is a solar chemical. Sunlight passes through the eye's retina and stimulates the pineal gland to synthesize this important brain chemical. Sunlight through the eye stimulates in the brain serotonin. Like Testosterone and melanin. Serotonin shows a gender difference. Men synthesize on average 52% more brain serotonin than women, which also contributes to men having a much stronger drive for power than women. Slide, please. You may ask, finally, what does all this have to do with the question at hand? Who is God? Allow me to try to summarize what I just said. It has been said that everything in the universe is some form of energy. Everything that happens in the universe is some form of first. In that case, evolution is understood as the gradual and increasingly complex organization of the distribution of energy. Get that? Evolution, the higher evolved organism, the better it organizes the distribution and use of energy. And this organization gets more and more exquisite, efficient, and precise as we ascend the hierarchy of life forms. And yes, God is a biological life form, an organism. The more highly evolved an organism or a species is, the more complex and efficient its biological capacity to use life. Get that? More complex an organism is, the more efficient is its ability to use light. God is light. All living organisms are energy conversion machines, all of them. The human body is the most sophisticated among living organisms, and the black body is the most sophisticated among human bodies. The energy required for the cellular processes that are central to sophisticated life is enormous. This thing, 37 trillion, it takes a lot of power, a lot of energy to power this machine. But humans are a bioelectric organism. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that ultimately the source of electricity is the sun. The exotic electrical properties of melanin make black people, melanated people, the ultimate bioelectric organism. Understand? The ultimate bioelectric organism. We are thus the apex of the hierarchy of life forms in this world, and the adult black male in particular, in his natural state. That qualification is critical. In his natural state, is the most light absorbent, the most light efficient, and the most energy producing organism on the planet. You call that teaching black supremacy. I call that teaching scientific fact. We thus have an understanding. We thus have an understanding of why our scholars like Dr. Leonard Jeffries refers to African people as sun people. The melanated body has the unique ability to take and make energy directly from the sun and use the water of our bodies to make both metabolic chemical energy and electricity. So when scripture declares that God is light in the human realm, Science makes it clear that is you. And in particular, more narrowly, that is you in your natural state. Praise belongs to Allah. But some of you informed woke folk might object that white people have melanin too. This is true. This is true. White people are not white skinned because they lack melanin. White people are white because they have an overabundance of a very different kind of melanin than what you and I have in abundance. Slide, please. You have an abundance of the light-friendly black or brown melanin called melanin, which has all of the properties that we have been using. White people, on the other hand, they have a higher ratio of light, unfriendly biomelanin. Melanin, black, brown melanin. Black people have an abundance of melanin. This is the melanin that has all of the qualities we just discussed. Melanin is red and yellow. It's very different from melanin. White people have a higher ratio of melanin. Follow. Now, what's important, the beginning of the process of melanin is the same for the two melanins. Process starts the same way for the black and the red melanin. The difference occurs when sulfur hijacks this process. Sulfur hijacks the process. It takes the process in a very different direction. Instead of producing the anti-cancer black melanin, it ends up producing the cancer-causing red melanin. Do you follow? Now, sulfur, which distinguishes black folks' melanin from white folks' melanin, sulfur is called the devil's purple because it's a foul-smelling gas responsible for the stench of rotten eggs and, well, flatulence. Is that what it's called? I don't want to say the other word. Gas from your backside. Sulfur is responsible for that horrible stench. Sulfur has been associated with Satan since ancient times. And Satan's lair, according to the book of Revelations, is a lake of burning sulfur. You remember when the late Venezuelan president Hugo Chavez, speaking at the United Nations after George Bush spoke, and he said of George Bush, the devil came here yesterday. It still smells of sulfur. You remember that? Well, what are you saying, Brother Wesley? Well, let me say what I'm saying. I'm saying that once you have answered properly question number one, who is God? Then the answer to question number two, who is the devil, is automatic. Slide, please. white man depicts the devil as a red man. He is telling you and me some truth about himself. And so the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about the red devil. He says, but here is a red devil that is produced as the red clay. It is the poor part of the black earth. The white race is the poor part of the black nation. Because the red melanin is the poor part of the black melanin. And this is why white people look the way they look and why white people smell the way they smell. Sorry, it's that sulfur. And so God told us in our lessons that the Caucasian is Yakub's drafted devil, the skunk of the planet Earth. Don't get mad at me. Bring that up with God. Of course, all begs the question. What happened? Surely we don't do much of any. I just described. God is light, and the black man is God. Our collective life is of God. How did this happen? How is it happening today? Finally, most importantly, how to fix it. Slide, please. Biochemistry of power and force. Melanin, testosterone, serotonin, biophoton. The light that our very cells emanate. Your cells right now are emanating light or emitting light. Biophotons, and scholars have now identified biophoton emission as carriers of will and intention. The material surroundings. Sunlight is the source of all of them. Slide, please. What happened? First thing that happened is we were kidnapped out of bright and sunny Africa and dragged into dull and dim North America, thereby minimizing the availability of solar energy necessary to power all of our equipment. Then we got all this equipment, all this solar equipment that needs solar power to work. White people don't have the solar needs that we have. So they cool in this dark and dingy place called America. We suffer greatly just by being here. The already limited light is further limited by our dark skin because now it's a health liability in this light-deprived environment. Further, these cold seasons demand long and thick clothing on top of our melanin garment, only to be confined during the summer months inside offices during most of the daylight hours due to this very sedentary occupational culture. We all work in office during the day, sitting on our butts during the summer. So we ain't got no sun during the winter. We at work in buildings. So we suffer from a solar deficiency. And when sun efficiency, all of our solar mechanisms are thrown out of whack. How is it happening today? By this society deliberately, systematically targeting all of our systems. Serotonin, testosterone, via photons, and melanin. Don't believe that. Believe the opening has conspired against you. Allow me to quickly cite three quick illustrative demonstrations. Then we're going to close with how to fix it. Slide, please. Bill Gates, the Microsoft billionaire, apparently wants to use vaccines to help reduce the world's population by billions over the next decades, supposedly in order to limit carbon dioxide emissions. The bulk of this depopulation is to occur in the world of black and brown people, so-called third world. He's spending huge amount of his money to make this happen. In 2017, he gave this man $32.6 million for HIV vaccine research. The most ravaged place on earth by AIDS and HIV is Africa. But there is a horrific irony. Dr. David Montefiore, who is leading the Gates HIV vaccine initiative, it appears, made a remarkable discovery in 1990 at the medical establishment and AIDS research establishment are almost completely silent about today, including him, which I suspect is the reason for his phenomenal career advancement. I suspect 9 years after HIV and AIDS first showed up as a white gay male disease in California and New York in the early 80s, Dr. Montefiore demonstrated in his Vanderbilt University laboratory melanin, hope you can read that melanin possessed the unique biological property to block HIV infection in unaffected cells. Did you hear what I said? Did you read that? Melanin blocked. Melanin blocked infection by cell-free viruses and interfered with HIV-induced effects. It's 1990. Water-soluble melanin can completely or partially protect human lymphocytes from infection by cell-free AIDS virus. In 1990, it was discovered that melanin actually is protective against the existing HIV virus at the time. You say, but rightly so, HIV is ravaged and AIDS is ravaging Africa today. How did that happen? How did it happen? Because it was the initial HIV-1 and initial HIV-2 strains that they produced in the laboratory but they discovered that melanin made black people resistant to those strains, so they created new strains on the basis of his discovery. But this is what is even more insidious. Slide, please. The discovery that melanin was protected against HIV. Slide, please. He patented method of inhibiting replication of HIV with water-soluble melanins. The U.S. government gave him a patent on the methodology to use melanin. What did he say? Replication of human immunodeficiency virus is inhibited in human patients administered melanin. So by patenting the method of using melanin to treat HIV, you disallow the world from using melanin to treat HIV. You hear about catch and kill with Trump? You know what the Trump organization does at Catch a Story? They'll purchase a story not favorable to them for the purpose of never letting it see the light of day. In 1990, this man discovered that melanin was resistant. It made black people resistant to the virus at the time. Two things. The method of using melanin was patented, the method, so no one else can use it. And he don't use it. He don't talk about it. He is getting Bill Gates money to use vaccines to depopulate the black world. And they created strains, further strains that could overcome melanin's resistance, effectively making HIV an ethnic weapon. If that ain't evil, if the white man ain't the devil, quit. Next slide, please. I'm running through. You hear me talk a lot about balance. The first case I just showed made me angry as hell at the white. This case, it makes me kind of frustrated. I speak, you have heard us speak a lot about balance. Now, BHDHAL is critically important. Balance is this chemical, this endo-disrupting chemical that is in our plastics that when it enters the body, it feminizes your son. Not just in behavior. Look, valid exposure in pregnancy adversely affects masculinization of male genitals in babies. This chemical disrupts the masculinizing process of your babies and your young son's body. Balance threat, less boy, more girl. Why am I frustrated with us? They found that black children have the greatest concentration of phthalates in their blood of anyone in the United States of America. Your and my our children. They studied the food in the black community and the food that we serve our children. It's contaminated. The packaging is contaminated. The food itself is contaminated with phthalates. You don't want to cook, sister. That is a problem of catastrophic proportions. We want to feed our children. You don't want to hear. You don't want to hear cooking. This is the consequence. Not just is. Not just does balance, gender role, something else too. It inhibits the production of melanin because it arrests the activity of the enzyme pyrosinase that produces melanin. So phthalates, and these phthalates are used as skin whitening agents because it disrupts the melanin production process. They use it as a potent skin whitening agent. So this stuff in the food that we are feeding our children because we don't want to cook, it's depleting us of this black God, depleting y'all my babies, of this black God molecule, melanin, on top of feminizing our boys. It's in practically all the food that's made available to in the black community. They did studies. White supermarkets. White communities have less concentration of fast foods and more concentration of supermarkets with organic products. And so white babies don't have the phthalate concentration level that our babies have. Next, please. Real quick. We've documented that after the so-called riots of the 60s, the government determined that the problem of the riots was black masculinity. Black masculinity was hostile to white people, and the source of this problem of black masculinity was in the brain of black males. The solution they came up with was lobotomies and ice picks, other tools into the brain of the young black male to damage particular areas, making him docile and non-aggressive. By the 80s, physical lobotomies, but the physical ice pick was out of vogue. So they switched to chemical lobotomy. Drugs that do the exact same thing that the ice pick does, but more efficiently. Drugs like crack cocaine, drugs like the menthol cigarettes, drugs like weaponized marijuana. They produce chemical lobotomy. That was the 80s and 90s. They went from physical to chemical lobotomy to sonic lobotomy. What's sonic lobotomy, Brother Wesley? It means that our music has been very scientifically weaponized against us by the military entertainment complex. The military entertainment process. You know the military industrial complex. You know the prison industrial complex. You need to know the military entertainment complex. Between world wars, the U.S. Navy, the National Defense Research Council, and the Rockefeller Foundation collaborated and funded a series of acoustic warfare studies. Acoustic warfare studies. Scientific investigations into the military use of rhythm and frequency for the purpose of psychotronic manipulation. Manipulating the mind through electronic devices and electrical frequency. Everything in nature vibrates. We are organized vibrations. Listen to what Einstein said. This is sonic lobotomy. Albert Einstein said, everything in life is vibration. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, he said. This is physics. By determining the frequency, the predominating frequency of anything, you can manipulate that frequency in a process called entrainment. Entrainment is when you synchronize one frequency to another frequency. You use one frequency to bring another frequency in order, in agreement, synchronize. And the power of music, the use of music for purposes of mind control, utilizes this process of entrainment that was perfected under or during these acoustic warfare studies. I could only touch the surface, but suffice to say, the more effective way to induce entrainment, to synchronize the human organism to an external source, is to use rhythmic music, especially for Black people, because we are a rhythmic people. Our frequencies are rhythmic. And so rhythmic music is better able to entrain the Black body to bring our biological frequencies in order, under control, and that's how you can control melanated people with the very music that they listen. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Next slide. They know how to produce in our brains frequencies that they can direct. They know how to produce a 4 hertz frequency with music through earphones. They call it binaural beats. They can produce, they can set our brain waves at 4 hertz. And they discovered that 4 hertz is the brain's fear frequency. So they can create and have created an ecology of fear in the Black community through this methodology. They got our music synchronizing our brains at 4 hertz, so we constantly scared of everybody. That's why we do all this gun clap, because we scared. We're scared to death Negro. Brother, you ain't shooting because you gangster, you shooting because you scared. But they know how to produce the fear frequency in our brain through our music. So what's the solution? How do we fix it? We'll start with the last one. If Satan, right, if he has weaponized music and frequency is his weapon, his tool of evil, slide, please, then God too knows how to use rhythm and frequency as a tool for God's purpose, because be clear, quantum physics tells us that God is not only a mathematician, God is a musician. Quantum physics tells us that because the peering into subatomic reality allows us to see the cosmic dance that all matter continuously engages in, and the tune that matter dances to is a tune written by God himself. So God is a musician, and his favorite servant, David, was the musician of God. David is Pharoah. And so you need to get this set. You need to get sonic light. We suffer from a solar deficiency. Farrakhan's music, God's music, helps restore our organic frequencies back to Black God. Slide, please. So if this is what happened, if we are suffering from this solar deficiency that causes all of our solar operating system malfunction, collapse, not working. God is light, but we ain't got no light. And that is the problem. We can be over here in the mirror, still dim and dingy, yet still it's the problem. Slide. How can we be in this place and yet get the light we need to power our systems? Slide, please. This right here, this part I'm closing here, is the realest thing I've said all morning. We can get the solar energy. We can solar power our systems without or in the absence of sunlight here in America. How? Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. How? Islam. That's how. Power our solar deprived operating system. But what do I mean by Islam? I mean thing we got to do for us to legitimately claim Islam. You got to do stuff or not do stuff. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us precisely what it takes to power our solar system. Can I prove that? Slide, please. Slide, please. Two things. that synthesizes testosterone. Milk helps us replenish testosterone. In milk, you get the amino acid tryptophan, which is necessary to synthesize serotonin. We replenish our serotonin by milk. Milk in its protein gives us tryptophan, which is the amino acid that synthesizes melanin. So just with milk, we can replenish testosterone, serotonin, and melanin in milk with navy bean. Navy bean gives us zinc and magnesium to synthesize testosterone. Milk gives us tryptophan to synthesize testosterone. This is the meal of the black god. Scientific fact. You can listen to Dr. Sebi all you want. I love Dr. Sebi.
So that's pretty much all I've got. Hope somebody got something from all of that. As I say, it was just a few of my thoughts on why they would want to block the sun out. And as you heard from the guy there, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, who explained scientific facts about melanin and what those in power have done against people who derive energy from the sun. It gives you an insight into the evil and the wicked things of this world, and basically there's all different shades from light to dark, and as we've seen from this video here, the guy is a believer, a follower of Islam, but facts are facts. Facts are not bound by religions and belief systems. A fact is a fact, and some people will like that and some people won't like that, but I just thought it was an important piece of information for people to see and derive their own conclusion from. So with that being said, I'll say peace and shalom.